teams, coaches, management, they need to realize that keeping like a lot of the old players around for so long is only going to make the region worse. And I think,
Hmm.
like we played the Immortals Academy roster yesterday and we lost. It sucks that we lost, but like I played in Academy for a full split, and some of those mid laners that are in Academy, they could play LCS and they could be just as good as these mid laners that are already playing. And if they actually play at this level, like the LCS level, and they get to scrim against all these best players every day rather than scrimming against all the Academy players, I
Hmm.
swear that these players will be good enough to like make the region better.
This is Zento from Esports Heaven, and I have here with me Damonte, victorious once again. This is becoming a regular thing. I kind of like that. Uh, in this game, though, you guys split pushed very hard. And this is something that we don't generally see in North America. What are your thoughts on just how effective this split push was for you this game?
Um, well, I think split pushing, yeah, you don't really see it in NALCS very often. It's just like, I mean, it's a high IQ strategy. You got to be kind of smart for this. Like your teammates also have to like buy into it. So like,
Hmm.
I mean, it's a bit hard to always like. Oh wait, sorry, I'm getting distracted. Uh, it's a bit hard to always like commit to the split push. Sometimes you always want to like group or something. Like something will you'll get pressured in the game and you'll have to change your plan. But this game, we kind of realized really early on that there's just no possible way that we're gonna like honestly team fight them. Like they had Power Vivo Oriana with like 700 CS or something. I was like, okay, guys, we're probably not gonna fight these guys. So
Yeah.
we just really focus on bringing them around the map. And yeah.
Okay, that was very impressive to see, and I don't think we see that enough in NA. That's my gripe. But so Demonte, or maybe I should say Mini Me, how is it living with Akaadian and just him being on another team?
I mean, living with Akaadian is pretty good. Honestly, I really like it a lot. Even though he's on another team, it's kind of fresh that I come home and then I have this roommate that I really get along with well. And I mean, me and Akaadian we weren't even friends originally just because we were on the same team. Like when our friendship started, it was just we were on different teams, and then we just hung out a couple times, just like randomly, and like over time we just got really close. So it's really good. We spend a lot of like one-on-one time just talking about our days or just talking about stuff in general to like de-stress.
Uh-huh. It's interesting because you both play different positions, but at the same time, you could generally learn things from each other because, as we know, the modern game of League of Legends today is about this mid jungle duo. It's kind of like a 2v2 lane. So, do you not feel like you're missing out a bit on this information you guys could potentially share?
Um, what do you mean by like the information we could possibly share? Like,
Like, as in, maybe, hey, this pick, I got this pick and I want to know how it interacts with jungle, maybe from your perspective. But that might be something that you can't necessarily share with him,
yeah,
especially if it's maybe a match that's coming up within
yeah,
the next week or two and you guys are going to face off.
yeah. I mean, we try to stay away from like talking about a lot of team stuff together. We don't really touch on that stuff, obviously, especially when like we're about to play each other. Like for instance, like we played like Dig and Golden Guardians played on week one, and then
Mm-hmm.
after that, like the next time we're gonna play is like 3 or 4 patches later. So
Yeah.
like after that match, it's fine. Like we can talk to each other about that stuff, and like I still play duo queue with him when we want. Like we
Mm-hmm.
just get along well, so it's just like relaxing, and yeah, I mean, it was a bit weird when the match was coming up though, because it's like I can't actually say anything to him, or I'm gonna give away my own like strategy.
Yeah. So, how, I guess, important is it, at least for you, or in terms of general, just pros in general, you think, within the scene to have a support network, a good friend that knows what you're going through within the LCS scene?
Um, I would say I'm not too sure how it relates to the other LCS players, but for me, as I've gotten older, I realized that relationships in my life like do matter a lot. I think that's where a lot of my happiness comes from, just being connected with other people and like just just being friendly and having people to like have fun with. I think is important, and that's not something that a lot of gamers have. They would have it on the internet and stuff, and I think it's really easy for a lot of players in LCS like have really sad time, because they just focused on only playing League all day long, and I think honestly, yeah, it's just super important to have like some way of venting.
Mm-hmm. So, speaking of which, maybe something that you can also relate to is recently the Immortals mid laner Aka was being flamed a lot on social media, on Reddit, Twitter, etc. What are your thoughts on just the criticism that is being levied towards him?
Well, first of all, I think the criticism levered towards Aka is not entirely justified. I think every time I watch him play, he's giving it all, he's putting it all in. I see him in solo queue all the time. He's really grinding it out, and like it's not that he's just this terrible player that everyone says. I think he got put in a hard spot, and I think it's hard for the fans to really understand that from the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And I reached out to him as soon as like all this stuff happened, where he was just getting absolutely blasted all over social media. And it's just like you can't do anything but just ignore it at that point, because these people just have they just want to go in on whoever they can. It really sucks, and yeah, I think people should let up a little bit. It is professional sports at the end of the day. Like the players, if they play bad, deserve to be flamed. But like I think everyone needs to realize and think about like management, coaches, stuff like that before
Mm-hmm.
they really just go in on the player.
Speaking of which, as we know, Immortals general manager and their coach were forced to resign. And so, with that said, there have been, I guess, talks of nepotism within the LCS. And, this came out from some analysts from maybe EU or some other coaches from EU. What are your thoughts on nepotism in the LCS, especially coming from your position, which is someone that is relatively new, I guess, but you are also an NA native talent. So, do you think nepotism is a problem within the LCS?
Um, on the topic of nepotism, I feel like you have to go team by team,
Hmm.
and I mean you're gonna see nepotism everywhere you go. Probably there's like a little bit of it on every team, right? I think it's in a way it makes sense, but also in a way it's like I think the other regions really thrive. Like for instance, LEC right now, I feel like they get rid of all of their old players like almost as soon as they look like they're doing bad. But you
Yeah.
see, like I think like nepotism is an issue, right? But I think it's also teams, coaches, management, they need to realize that keeping like a lot of the old players around for so long is only going to make the region worse. And I think
Hmm.
like we played the Immortals Academy roster yesterday and we lost. It sucks that we lost, but like I played in Academy for a full split, and some of those mid laners that are in Academy, they could play LCS and they could be just as good as these mid laners that are already playing. And if they actually play at this level, like the LCS level, and they get to scrim against all these best players every day rather than scrimming against all the Academy players, I
Hmm.
swear that these players will be good enough to like make the region better.
Hmm. Okay. All right. Well, glad I got to talk with you, Damonte, coming from the man himself, the NA native talent. Congrats on the win, by the way. This has been Azento from Esports Heaven and Damonte from Golden Gardens. Appreciate it.